Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for a introduction to Wingman 3.0 and the improvements we've made to our forms and our system. I want to thank all of you guys for being wonderful Wingman customers. We are so happy to be working with all of you, and happy early Thanksgiving to everybody. This is our final push before the holiday weekend, so I appreciate you all taking some time to join me today. I promise to make this as quick and painless as possible. Couple of housekeeping items as I always like to start. If you have questions throughout the presentation, I encourage you to bring them up as soon as you can think of them. There's a questions area on your screen, type it in. I'll try to get to every single one of them during our brief time together today. There are two handouts that you are able to download today from the screen. One of them is a coverage breakdown that now includes our new coverages. The other is our new comparison form. In case you're trying to compare our form to somebody else's, this is a great way to do that. I encourage you to download both of those now or at any time during the presentation. If you have any trouble, let me know and I will send them to you after the presentation. Okay, so again, I want to make this brief, but I want to give you guys the chance to ask questions. So I'm going to go through what's new. I want to talk about three very important topics regarding 3.0. First, what are the new coverages that we're offering? Second, what upgrades have been made to the system and the process? And third, how will these changes affect you as an agent, your quoting process, but even more importantly, existing quotes? Let's take it from the top. What are the new coverages? I've broken them into two areas: what's actually brand new and improvements to existing coverages. I want to point out that there are no coverages that we have removed. All of the coverages have been added and nothing has been removed. Okay, bricking. One of the beautiful things about the way that Wingman tries to do business is we look around and we read articles and we talk to insurance carriers about what kind of cyber claims they're actually seeing and try to find creative solutions to solve those problems, so that if you have an insured who has a claim, whatever the damage is will actually be covered. And in that regard, bricking is something that we're seeing a lot of in the industry today. Now, what is that? Bricking is when a cyber event occurs that ultimately takes the device, whether it be your phone or your computer or even your office server, and ostensibly turns it into nothing more usable than a brick, i.e., it cannot actually function anymore and it must be replaced. And so the cost of replacing it is covered in the bricking endorsement. It is a $250,000 sublimit on this coverage. But essentially what happens is if you have a ransomware attack that kills your computer and you're unable to recover anything from the computer or even use the computer anymore, then we will pay to replace that computer with the current model of the same exact computer. So that is your bricking coverage. It's become really important as we see these cyber attackers who try to render your technical devices useless if you don't pay them. So this is a big one. Invoice manipulation is the second coverage that we've added. And it is, interestingly enough, a bit of a corollary to the traditional social engineering or funds transfer fraud. There are hackers that will go into your computer systems and they will actually edit the invoices before you have a chance to send them out, changing the wiring or payment instructions. Thus, your customer thinking that they're paying their bill actually isn't paying their bill, they're paying somebody else and you don't get paid. This coverage is triggered if you render goods or services and don't get paid for them, even though your customer pays someone, even if it isn't you. As a comparison, social engineering is when someone in your office is paying the invoice and they pay it incorrectly. This is the adverse to that, where you've rendered the services, you've created the invoice, and someone else doesn't pay it correctly. So this is also a coverage that has a $250,000 sublimit, exactly like social engineering, and is a good partner to it for making sure that your customers, whether they're paying the invoice or issuing the invoice, will be covered if a fraudulent payment is made. And thirdly, in the new coverages area, this is one of the more interesting ones, and I was frankly surprised it took us so long to get this included in the policy. It's called extortion threat reward coverage. Now, we got a lot of questions this past week whether or not this was just ransomware coverage, and the answer is no. We have full ransomware coverage in the policy, $1 million of coverage. And that does not change. This is an additional coverage on top of that pays for $250,000 cash to anybody who helps apprehend somebody who is actually doing the ransomware attacks. So let's say an office gets hit with a ransomware attack, we're going to cover that. We're also, on top of paying the ransom and or the damages to an insured system, going to pay a reward if someone from your office or outside of your insured's office is able to point us in the direction of the person who's doing the ransoming. This is the first attempt coordinated by insurance companies to crack down on these ransomers instead of just paying them. So I think it's a truly fascinating coverage, and I'm very glad to say that $250,000 sublimit is included in every policy for cyber and technology E&O now. As an additional aside, we've created a landing page with policy language and excerpts and additional information you might need. If you want to see this information, there's a link on that pop-up when you log into the system. But the website is wingmaninsurance.com/improvements. You can check it out anytime. It has a full coverage breakdown on that site as well. Guys, if you have questions, start throwing them at me. I'd love to answer all of them. So I mentioned that we had some new coverages and some improved coverages, and let's talk about those improvements now. The first one is one that we've been hearing a lot of gripe about, and we're happy to have finally fixed. Social engineering coverage, as we discussed earlier, is when you or your insured's office, the policyholder's office, pays an invoice for goods or services rendered, only that money did not go to the person who rendered those goods or services because you were given fraudulent wire instructions. Similarly, if, let's say, somebody calls your office and says, I need to change my bank account for a direct deposit on my paychecks, and you change it, but that person on the phone wasn't your actual employee, and so you're paying the wrong person. That's social engineering coverage. You're fraudulently tricked into paying somebody money instead of paying the correct person. So how did we improve that coverage, you might ask? Well, there was a provision in there that said that the insured had to actively attempt to authenticate each payment in order for it to be covered. Now, Access never really enforced this provision. However, it was wrong to include it, and so now it is gone. So there is no longer any authentication provision in the social engineering. There is no longer any barrier to getting coverage in the policy language itself. If you fraudulently pay somebody money, then you are covered up to $250,000 sublimit. So I hope that that's an improvement that will help you sell this policy. More than likely, it's more just a housekeeping item to make sure that the policy language matches with the intent of the coverage and the carrier's ability to actually cover what they say they're going to. The next improvement is actually a really big one and a really interesting one. Business interruption is something that we tout quite a bit because it's such an important coverage for each insured. It is something we see a lot of claims in, and quite frankly, we don't see that going away anytime soon. Now, what used to happen is that business interruption, first and third party, meaning if you own the system or if you're contracting with somebody else as a service for their software, if they are hit with a data breach or a cyber attack, you would get the business interruption coverage. Here's what was not covered. If for whatever reason your system or your contracted service just goes down, not because of a cyber attack, but rather because of a failure, a system failure, we now are including full limit coverage for those system failures and service failures. To give you an example, if a cyber attack had hit your agency management system before, then you would have been covered. If, however, your agency management system just simply crashed not due to a cyber attack, but simply because something went wrong and you didn't have access to your agency management system for several weeks, that would not have been covered. Now, in the 3.0 coverage form, that service failure, simply a service that you contract with and rely on to do business, fails, not due to a cyber attack, but just in general, that will now be covered. So both the cyber attack as a cause and the non-cyber attack as a cause of the downtime are both covered under 3.0. Questions on that? Okay, I think everybody's got Thanksgiving on the mind, so I'll just keep going and throw anything at me if you've got it. Finally, on the new improvements to the form side is lower pricing. I want to say it's an average about 5 to 10%, but it's not across the board the same percentage. So you'll have to check your quotes, but it is newer and lower pricing. Minimum premium is now somewhere in the 500 and change range. And so that's a good one. That's a great update. We hope that that will help you capture more of the market with this coverage. And again, this is all admitted, and so that's tremendous. We're looking at really competitive pricing on an admitted product that has all of the coverages that you're used to, plus all of these new ones. So Marnie asked a really great question. What's the wait time for the service failure and the system failure? It is the same as the traditional business interruption by cyber claim. It is 6 hours. So I hope that, and there's no hourly cap. So I hope that that makes it even more competitive, because I know that there's a lot of carriers out there that are doing 8, 10, even 12-hour wait times before business interruption kicks in. We don't, it's as low as we can get it, which is 6 hours. Okay, Robert asked a really important question, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more later, although we can just address it now. How are current insureds impacted by the improvements? Do they get the new coverages at renewal? Yes, Robert, everybody gets the new coverages at renewal. They do not automatically get the new coverages now if they already have a policy in place. But I will tell you, if you had somebody who issued their policy last week, for example, and you want to add the new coverages, just let us know. Older than that, and unfortunately, they're going to have to wait till their renewal. But we will also talk about existing quotes and how that works in just a second. So everybody will have these new coverages upon renewal and any new policies that are issued. Okay, let's keep your questions coming, guys. Let's talk about system upgrades while you guys let me know what your thoughts are. We've done some really wonderful upgrades to the system. The first one is that we used to ask the claims question sort of 2 different ways. We'd asked if you ever had a data breach, and then we sort of asked if you ever had a cyber claim. That always bugged me. I'm really glad to say that those have now been combined into one question. So it's only 4 pages now, where your name and address is page 1 and sort of what you do, and then we ask your records, and then we ask about claims. So for accounts under $100 million, we've one less question, and I hope that speeds up your process. Okay, Lisa asked a question about the extortion threat reward coverage. She wanted me to reiterate really what it's covering. Lisa, here's what it's covering. When there's a ransomware attack, what happens is the insurance company either is able to have a backup and sets up your new system, or pays the ransomer and gets an encryption key to get you up and running. In an effort to combat these ransomware, and that's not going to change in our new policy, that's still how it works. But in an effort to combat the amount of ransomware attacks that we're seeing, $250,000 of coverage is now included to pay an individual an actual reward, like an actual criminal reward in dollars for any tip or information that leads to the arrest of the ransomer. And so we are attempting to utilize insurance coverage to jumpstart the process of mitigating these ransomware claims. I hope that makes more sense. So stay tuned on that. And if you have any additional questions, let me know. Another question came in asking if we ever offer penetration testing. We don't. The vast majority of insureds are not going to benefit from something like that. We do have some pre-breach services that are available, and we can talk about those. We're going to do a whole webinar on pre-breach services later on in December, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to shoot me an email, we can talk about some options. An insured has to be bigger and more complicated to actually benefit from penetration testing, but there are definitely some things that an insured can do. Someone asked if the extortion threat reward coverage has to be leading to an arrest. Yes, it does. I don't really know what that means from a legal perspective, and I am a lawyer, so that ought to tell you a little bit of the gray area on that front, but I can get some clarification from the carrier on really what that means in a substantive way, particularly with regards to ransomware, where most of the time they're probably not US-based actors. So that's a really excellent question, John, and I will be following up on that one. All right, back to the system upgrades. So we talked about the shorter application. I also want to talk about a new, easier way that you guys can quote. I will show you how this works as soon as the presentation is done right here on our webinar. But we've created an application invitation link that is unique to each user in your agency. And you can put that on your website in an email message, however you'd like to use that. You can send it anywhere you'd like. And what it does is allow an insured to go online, fill out the application, and then submit it to you, the agent. So they're not going to get a quote at the end of the process. It's not dissimilar from how we were doing the invite link before, only it's just a much more streamlined process. That way, if you have a landing page and you want your insureds to be able to click on it to just fill out the app so that you're not constantly following up with everybody, this is a much easier way to do that, and I'll show you where to find it. And then finally, I want to thank a lot of our users for some truly exceptional feedback that our quote letter was jumbled, a mess, and hard to read. And we agreed. So we have made it much clearer, much easier to understand. The font is bigger and it prints out much prettier. So we hope that you like it. Please keep your feedback coming because it does impact the development that we do in our software. We want the system to be as easy as possible for you guys. If you're not using it, we're not doing our jobs. So let us know how we can improve the system. That's how we get to things like the clearer quote letter. Now, here's an important thing I want to talk about, and that's how do these improvements affect me? So we already talked about a little bit about how at renewal, all existing policyholders will automatically be upgraded to the 3.0 coverage. But what does that mean for existing quotes and policies? Existing policies are going to stay as they are. Any current quotes that are outstanding, if they are currently active, you will be given on the screen the opportunity to upgrade them to the new pricing and coverage, or keep them as they are. That is entirely up to you for any new or renewal quotes that are currently active. So existing quotes for new business are good for 30 days. That means 30 days from today, all new quotes, all existing quotes will be on the 3.0 coverage. Renewal quotes are good for 90 days. So if you got a quote for end of January renewal and you want to keep those 2.0 coverages, that's absolutely fine. It's entirely up to you. When you go in to actually purchase the renewal policy, you can opt to keep your 2.0 or choose to upgrade to the 3.0. Either one is fine with us. After a quote expires, now or for new business now or 90 days from now for renewals, we will require you to upgrade to the new pricing and new coverage. We think it's the easiest way to keep it standard, and we think the policyholder should have all the additional coverages. All right, as current insureds renew and get the new features, will the renewal explain the improvements added to their policy? That is a really excellent question. The quote letter will reflect, obviously, the new coverages to each policy. We have a little as I mentioned, landing page that can explain what the new coverages are. You're welcome to print that as a PDF. If you're looking for something more specific than that, you can let me know. But all of these things are massive upgrades, so we hope that you can use it as a sales tool. So great question. So the new product, is the new product currently available to quote now automatically? Yes, when you go in, starting last Thursday, when you went in and created a quote, it was automatically quoting you on the 3.0 coverages. And from this point forward, any new quote, new or renewal that you generate in the system will be the 3.0 coverages. So great question, Ellen. Okay. Questions about the process, keep them coming. I just want to reiterate that if you want some additional information on any of these things, wingmaninsurance.com/improvements is where you're going to go to find it. And now I'm going to go and switch out my screen and show you guys what it looks like in real time. That is not the right window. Yes, it is. Okay. Let's make sure this looks right. Great. All right. I want to show you first how to get to the unique quote link. So I'm going to click on new. And this is what your screen should look like. If it doesn't, you should let me know. And you'll see both of our products are available here. And this is an excellent time for me to talk about what's not included in 3.0. Currently, the additional coverage enhancements on cyber are not available on the technology E&O product, aside from the extortion threat reward coverage. So the bricking and the system failure are currently not included on the tech E&O, but we are in talks with our carrier to include them at a later date, so stay tuned on that. They are automatically included on cyber. So you'll notice these blue arrows. You might have used them before to send an invite link to one of your insureds. Depending on the product you want them to fill out the application for, you're going to get a different unique link. So you're going to click on this, and you'll notice you can send a cyber link to the applicant, and that's basically filling out their name and email address and sending them a personal email that says, please fill out this application. That is still available for you to do. We like that personalized approach. We think it's incredibly effective. However, if you would like to get your custom cyber link to put on your website or anywhere else, you click on the Get Custom Cyber Link button, and you can use the link below to allow your customers to apply for cyber insurance by placing the link on your website or directly emailing your customers the URL. So obviously you can click copy to clipboard, and you can just paste it into wherever you need it. But it basically looks like this, with the predominant difference being that where it says cyber, if you want the Tech E&O one, it'll say Tech E&O, and I'll show you. It says Tech, but it's the same process. Invite.wingmaninsurance.com/ and then the product and then your name. So we encourage you guys to get the link, copy and paste it, and use it because it's incredibly effective and a really great tool that was asked for by a number of agents to get direct hits from your website or your email signature or whatever it might be to get people to fill out the application online. Now, when they click on that, it takes them directly to this page, the quote page, with a pop-up of instructions on the importance of filling out the information fully and accurately. The live chat that you guys get is also available to them, and will continue to follow them as it follows you. So we are there to help support them should they have any questions. And it does that pop-up thing where it says, can we help you, if they're on the page for more than like 15 seconds. So we hope that that's incredibly effective. I also want to point out here that the basic information, business class protected records claims, it's now one page shorter, just as I had mentioned. I hope that that makes your life just a smidgen easier. Okay, John just asked an amazingly smart question. Does the invite link show the Wingman branding, or is it white labeled? I.e., if you've sent us your logo, will it show your logo or ours? John, this is tremendous. I'm so glad you asked this. You're teeing me up. If you have sent us your logo, then it will show your logo and not ours. other than where the product name is, because that's the product name that they're getting quoted. But on this top left corner where it says Wingman Insurance in green, it will have your logo. If you have not currently sent us your logo, then please do so. And you can send it to us at info@wingmanins.com, or me personally at Ellie, ELLIE, at wingmanins.com. And we will make sure it gets added to the system, because that is a tremendously important feature. We want all the quote letters, all of the customer facing pages, all of the emails from our system that are facing your insureds to have your branding and logo on it. That is our best tool for you. So thank you, John. You really teed me up on that. But yes, the branding is standard because it is a customer facing application. Okay. That is really all I wanted to show you today. I again want to thank you so much for joining me this Thanksgiving week. I hope that this was incredibly informative. I will be sending out the video of this after we are done. And if you have any additional questions or any other thoughts, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or anyone on the team. We really love your feedback, want to hear what's going on, and make sure that you are set up to be as effective as possible. With December and January being two of our biggest months, let us know how we can help you be incredibly effective in writing as much business as possible. So I want to thank you all for joining me, and have an excellent holiday weekend. Have a good one, everybody. We'll talk next week.